morning. Good morning, everyone. And thank you for being here today. Special welcome to anyone who is new to us today. For those who are new, we usually have a relatively short talk, followed by a discussion when you'll get a chance to meet some of the others. So we've been talking about this Vimalakirti Sutra, which may seem odd to those who haven't been following this story. It was probably written 2,000 years ago in India in Sanskrit and has been widely promulgated throughout the Buddhist world to Tibet and Japan, Korea. And to the United States and Europe, translated into many different languages. It's an allegory, which means it's kind of a fantastical story, which means that it has these sort of mythological superheroes in it. But it also means that it's intended to apply to us. It's not intended to be a fictional diversion, but it's intended to be a Dharma lesson. So it's about our lives. It's about us. And the last chapter that we discussed was when in the last chapter, we learned about the land of many fragrances, where there were just bodhisattvas everywhere, people who are well-practiced beings, enlightened beings, doing good works everywhere. And in this land of many fragrances, a dominant fragrance is that which is given off by the trees. It's the fragrance of great compassion, of unconditional love. So this is sort of a land of love that these individuals have come from, and they brought lunch. They brought this fragrant rice, and all of the people attending Vimalakirti back here on Earth in the Saha world were able to have lunch, feeding from this rice. So now that they've been well fed, these 9 million bodhisattvas who have traveled from the land of many fragrances and arrived in Vimalakirti's room. You have to sort of set aside your usual notions of space and time here, because all of these 9 million bodhisattvas they have their own lion chairs, and they're all assembled there in this 10 by 10 foot room with Vimalakirti. And they want to go visit the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, our Buddha, the Buddha of this earth. And he's across town in a mango grove with some of his attendants. But these bodhisattvas from the land of many fragrances really want to visit him. So Vimalakirti has many special talents, but one of them is that he can collect all these 9 million bodhisattvas sitting on lion chairs in the palm of his hand and take them over to the mango grove to visit the Buddha. And when they arrive there, Ananda, who is attending the Buddha, his attendant monk, notices the fragrance given off by these bodhisattvas and asks about it. It says, well, what is that? And the Buddha explains, he says that this rice that grows in the land of many fragrances, the fragrance of the rice comes through your pores until you fully digest the rice. And fully digesting the rice involves coming to a new level of understanding, a deeper level of understanding and wisdom. So Ananda remarks on this. He finds this fascinating, and he says to the Buddha, I've never heard of such a thing, world-honored one, speaking to the Buddha, to think that this fragrant rice can be used to do the Buddha's work. And then the Buddha responds. He says, just so, Ananda. And there are some Buddha lands where the radiant light of the Buddha is used to do the Buddha's work. Some where bodhisattvas are used to do the Buddha's work. Some where phantom beings conjured up by the Buddha are used for the Buddha's work. Some where the Bodhi tree is used for the Buddha's work. Some where the Buddha's garments or bedding are used for the Buddha's work. Some where the Buddha's food is used for the Buddha's work. Some where gardens, groves, pavilions, and towers are used for the Buddha's work. Some where the 32 features and 80 characteristic auspicious marks that accompany the body of the Buddha are used to do the Buddha's work. Some where the Buddha's body is used for the Buddha's work, and some where empty space is used for the Buddha's work. Living beings responding to these various agents are thereby led to undertake the practice of the precepts. He goes on. There are lands where similes, such as dreams, phantoms, reflections, echoes, images in a mirror, the moon in the water, or shimmering heat waves are used to do the Buddha's work. There are some where voices, spoken words, or written words are used to do the Buddha's work, or pure Buddha lands where tranquil silence, without words, without explanations, without purport, without cognition, without action, without conditioning, does the Buddha's work. Thus, Ananda, among all daily activities of the Buddhas, their comings and goings, every act that they carry out, there is not one that does not do the Buddha's work. So these bodhisattvas from the land of many fragrances are really curious about this Saha world we live in. Because in their world of many fragrances, of great compassion, of unconditional love, they just don't really see these ailments of greed and anger, delusion. Just doesn't seem to come up. But here, they seem to be rife. So they're really curious. And they ask the Buddha to give a talk. And the topic that the Buddha chooses to talk about is the conditioned and the unconditioned. It's sometimes translated the exhaustible and the inexhaustible, or the destructible and the indestructible. So the Buddha chooses to talk on this topic to these, we might say, kind of naive Bodhisattvas from the land of many fragrances. So what he instructs them to do is, he says there is a doctrine of the exhaustible and the inexhaustible. You would do well to learn this. What does exhaustible mean? It means those things that are conditioned. What does inexhaustible mean? It means those things that are unconditioned. But beings such as the Bodhisattvas do not exhaust or have done with the conditioned, nor do they dwell in the unconditioned. So to not get stuck in the conditioned or the unconditioned. And then he expounds on this theme. He says, what is meant by not having done with the conditioned, not washing your hands of it, it means not setting aside great compassion, not renouncing great kindness, giving profound expression to the mind of comprehensive wisdom and never forgetting it, teaching living beings without ever wearying, being constantly mindful of the 4 methods of winning people. And we talked last time about that, how that's generosity and kind speech and beneficial action being of benefit, and sharing the burdens of others, those 4 things, and applying them in season, guarding and upholding the Dharma without thought for life or limb. It means to work tirelessly to plant the roots of goodness, to keep the will at all times fixed on expedient means, skillful means, and the transfer of merit to others, to seek the Dharma without slacking, to preach the Dharma without stinting. It means diligently making offerings to Buddhas, purposely entering the realm of birth and death with no feelings of fear, facing all types of honor or disgrace without thought of sadness or joy, not looking with contempt on those who have yet to learn, and respecting the learned as if they were the Buddha himself. So that is about what is meant by not getting caught up in the conditioned. But what is meant by saying that the Bodhisattva does not dwell in the unconditioned? It means that one studies and practices the teachings on emptiness, but does not take emptiness to be enlightenment. one studies and practices the teaching on non-form and non-action, but does not take non-form and non-action to be enlightenment. One views things as impermanent, but does not neglect to cultivate the roots of goodness. One views the world as marked by suffering, but does not hate to be born and die in it. One sees there is no destination, yet one makes the Dharma one's destination. One sees there is no birth, yet one takes on the form of birth in order to share the burdens of others. One embraces the view that all phenomena are void and false, lacking firmness, lacking personality, lacking a master, lacking form. Yet while one's original vow remains unfulfilled, one does not regard merits, virtues, meditation, or wisdom as meaningless. So not getting stuck in the conditioned or the unconditioned. Tomorrow there's going to be a presentation by the Buddhist Council, which I think you all received an invitation to, and it promises to be kind of a dreary, rainy day, so it might be a good afternoon to actually attend such a thing. And it's about engaged Buddhism, and there's a series of talks, and then I think there'll be sort of a brief panel discussion. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but the topics are three general areas. One, pandemics, past, present, and future, talking about pandemics. And the second topic is about the environment, basically environmental degradation and what to do about it. And the third topic is avoiding nuclear holocaust. So with that lineup of topics, one might be tempted to think, okay, we're going down in flames. I know this. I understand this. And it's possible we are. It's entirely possible that we are going down in flames. And in fact, it would be remarkable if there were a species on the earth that managed to be immortal as a species. So recognizing that and recognizing these threats to our well-being as a species, one might be inclined to take the attitude, well, we're going down in flames, so what difference does it make? I think part of the message that I'm receiving from Vimalakirti and from the Buddha in this sutra and in other writings is that it makes all the more difference. If we are in fact going down in flames, do we want to go down in flames of love and compassion? Or do we want to go down in flames of bitterness cynicism and hate. So we don't know what the future will bring. We can be fairly confident that we will not right away solve the problem of pandemics, that this will not be the last one. We can be fairly confident that we haven't solved the problem of environmental degradation and are not likely to do so in the near future, try as we might. And we can also feel fairly confident that we will not rid the world of nuclear weapons or whatever else kinds of weapons that the human imagination devises to threaten us. But given all that we just don't know where this is all going, it makes it all the more important to not get caught up in the conditioned and not get caught up in the unconditioned, to remain active, an active participant in this human experience, in this human experient, in this experiment. So what can we use? What can we use to do the Buddha's work? And to enter Buddha lands? Do we create Buddha lands? Or do we just notice them? Can we use the telephone, computers, food to do the Buddha's work? What is the Buddha's work? So those are some thoughts perhaps to reflect on. And I think at this point we'll stop